So from the previous video, you have understood what the decay law is and how to fashion this equation from the formula sheet. N is equal to N naught E negative lambda T. All right. So in this video, I'm going to start first by deriving the equation for half-life and then graphing the decay law for you. All right. And teach you how to graph it using half-life, even if you don't know what and how to do exponents properly. It's okay. All right. So let us first define what half-life is. Okay. So if you remember from the previous graph, this one, right? Half-life is the time taken for the number of radioactive nuclei to decrease by half of its original value. That's why we call half-life. So I will type it out for you right now. All right. So once again, half-life, time taken for the number of undecayed nuclei to reduce by half its original value. So I guess we could do some substitution. Okay. Half-life, the symbol we will use is T half. Okay. So we will say when T is equal to T half, N is the original over 2 half. I'm going to substitute inside here. So this N becomes N naught over 2 is equal to N naught E negative lambda. The time is T half. That's why sometimes they will write EXP to not have to make sure that you have enough space to write the half-life. But this one is here. Okay, this is your half-life. And which is this T. Okay, your N is your N naught over 2. Which is this one here. All right. So you substitute carefully. If you are asked to derive this, but you don't really know where this equation comes from, that's okay. Start with this equation. In place of time, put T half. In place of N, put N naught over 2. Because T half is time taken to be reduced by half. Time to move things around. First order of business is to simplify the equation. So I'm going to remove my N naught. Take it away. So what I have now is 1 over 2. Which, if you remember, half is 2 to the power of negative 1. And this will be E is equal to negative lambda times half-life. Okay, so I could bring the exponent over. Okay, and when this one jumps over the fence, it enters the ln. So this will be ln 2 to the power of negative half, and this will be equal to negative lambda T half. Okay, so this exponent, change the highlighter with this exponent, green for ln, has shifted over here and became this ln. Okay, so ln go over, become exponent, exponent come over, become ln. All right, so I got to deal with the power negative 1, which we can bring down. So I'll get negative ln 2 is equal to negative lambda times half-life. So I will have lambda is equal to, because the negative goes away, will be ln 2 over half-life. And my head is blocking, so there we go. Ln 2, if you press your good friend Casio, the calculator, you will find that it is 0.6931471.806. Well, 3SF is more than enough, so 0.693 over T half. This is the second relationship that is given in your data sheet. Sometimes you can just use it, but this one, you must know the proof. It can be asked for 2 to 3 marks. All right, so the proof looks like this. Once again, we start from the equation. Okay, the definition is such that this time, we are looking for this time, or substituting this time, such that we can get half the sample size. So this N will be substituted as N naught over 2. Cancel off the N naught. All right, so what you will have is 1 over 2. I put 2 to the power of negative 1 so that the negative will eventually cancel out. Exponent shift over becomes ln. Negative 1 bring down the power or the index become negative ln 2. So negative ln 2 is negative lambda times half-life. Lambda will be ln 2 over half-life. Or you could also put half-life is ln 2 over lambda. It's a very important equation to use when we want to apply the decay law, because this lambda helps us find the half-life. Okay, so right now we're going to try to graph all of this understanding. So instead of starting with exponents, what we will do is we will go back to the idea, the original idea where half-life is the time taken for this to go down by half. Another half would be the time taken for this to go down by half. All right, so now we're going to try to graph this. Okay, so we're going to graph the decay law now. So on the y-axis, we have the number of radioactive nuclei, our n. Okay, I'm just going to remind you that n is the number of radioactive nuclei. And the equation that we're trying to graph is n is equal to n naught e negative lambda t. But if you don't want to draw the equation, it's fine. Let's say, for example, your half-life is 20 seconds. So check out my time axis. I've labeled from 0 to 100 seconds. So this means in 20 seconds, the sample size will go down by half from n naught to n naught over 2. Okay, so it's going to go down to n naught over 2. So this is this here to here is your half-life. Now I put yellow, right? So might as well stick to yellow. All right, so here to here is one half-life. The next half-life, we will go down by half again. So n naught over 2 divided by 2 will be n naught over 4. So it will be here. And then n naught over 4 divided by 2 will be n naught over 8. So it will be here. And then if we continue this, half of these 5 boxes will be 2.5 boxes. And half of this will be slightly more than 1. So this halving of it, all of this shows us half-life. So let's say you take the entire sample size 100. When you reach here, this is 50% left. 50% of 50% means when you reach here, you have 25% left. 50% of 25% means when you reach here, you will have 12.5% and 6.25% and 3.125% and so on and so forth. So we're going to join all these points together in a smooth-ish curve based on what I can afford on a tablet. It is fairly common for them to ask you to graph this. So just make sure that you know how to graph this and also to plot out the important values. Right, so this is your the number of radioactive nuclei decaying, right? And whenever we hit the halfway point, it's half. Here to here is your T half. This is half-life. Here to here is another half-life, so it went down by half. Here to here is another half-life, and so on and so forth. Okay. So this is the number of radioactive nuclei. I'm going to just label this here. So the number of radioactive nuclei left behind. This is what we call the reactant in chemistry. That means you haven't reacted yet. So the number of nucleus that haven't reacted is decreasing. But what about the number of nucleus that already reacted? When you first started your experiment, nobody have reacted yet. 0. Halfway, one half-life later, half already reacted. So that means 0% has reacted, 50% has reacted, and then this one, 25% is left, so 75% has reacted. So we're going to go up to 75%. And this one, we will continue. So this is a slightly different graph to show how the product or the more stable product is forming over time. So something like this. Okay, so let me join the curve first. Hopefully it is somewhat smooth. It is an exponential curve as well. It's just not the same kind of exponential curve. So this one is the stable product. Okay, so over time, the product will go up to 100%, everything will decay, and then the number of radioactive particles will decrease over time. Just like we can see in this model, if let's say I play this, red color one, make more. Nah, red color one haven't decayed yet, so 100% red. And then as time passes, you will get more and more gray and less red. Okay, so yeah, so eventually this will hit. And as usual, if you are used to exponents, these are all asymptotes, right? So this is the product, and then this one already decayed. So product means already decayed, whereas the number of reactant haven't decayed yet. Okay, so this is one. I think I'll just change the gray line to blue, because I want you to think about what happens if, let's say, I change the half-life. For example, if I double the half-life. So I'm going to pop up a green pen and let the half-life be 40 seconds. So if the half-life is 40 seconds, it means that instead of taking 20 seconds to go down by half, it will take 40 seconds to go down by half. So that means it takes a longer time, guys. So another 40 seconds to go down by another half. Okay, and then that's all we have. So you could also join this in a exponential shape. So this one, the half-life is 40 seconds. And if you want to mark out the half-life, it will be from here to here. All right. Of course, half-life can also be shortened. I'm going to pop up orange for that. Maybe you will have another half-life that is 10 seconds. So 10 seconds means instead of taking 20 seconds, you will reach half at 10 seconds, drop another half by 20 seconds, drop another half by 30, another half by 40, another half by 50, and then another one by 60. And at this point, cannot see now. So this would be your shape. So I would like you to think about the lambda. Which lambda is greater in the graph that I labels? Okay, so I'm going to label this one. This one is when your half-life is 10 seconds. And this is, let's say, lambda 1. The blue one that we drew is when your half-life is 20 seconds. And this is lambda 2. The green one is when the half-life is 40 seconds, and this is lambda 3. So which lambda is bigger? Think of the relationship that you have derived previously. By the way, this is the number of undecayed nucleus n against time. So think about the lambda equation. We are drawing your lambda is ln 2 over half-life. So since we know that the half-life for lambda 3 is the greatest, means lambda 3 is the smallest. So hence lambda 3 is less than lambda 2 is less than lambda 1. So if they give you a graph like this, you should be able to tell that the larger the lambda, this lambda is the largest, the faster the drop. Because greater probability of decay, more decay in a unit time. So this lambda 1, in case you remember, you want to recall, repetition breeds memory, right? So this is probability of decay per unit time of a nucleus. Okay, so if the probability is greater, like lambda 1, the drop will be very fast. And this purple is the stable product, which is already decayed. This is for half-life 20 seconds. All right, so this is to correspond with the blue graph. So sometimes they will draw the number of radioactive one is dropping, but the number of stable will be increasing. So if you give it enough time, the number of stable nuclei will hit 100% and the number of radioactive will drop. Why is this graph important? Well, number one, it tells us how long we need to wait until it is safe to use the instrument again. It also tells us how long we need to wait for us to replace the fuel rod in the reactor. Okay, so this is just counting the number of nucleus per unit time, and what we learned in this video is how to find the half-life, number one, derive the half-life, okay, by substituting half-life and N0/2 inside here. Number two, sketching this graph by using half-life. So what we did here was we essentially just keep dividing the y-axis reading by half at every single half-life interval. Okay, and also to sketch out the product. There are some past year questions around this that you should try. All right, and I think that's it for this video. In the very last video, we are going to talk about the inconvenience, which, by the way, I should also label the half-life. Okay, so I continue to talk. In the next video, we will talk about the inconvenience of counting particles. So if you want to keep counting the particles, it's very tired. So we have another special treatment for that. So orange one, half-life is 10 seconds, the width of the highlighted one. Blue one, half-life is 40 seconds. Sorry, green one, half-life is 40 seconds, and blue one, half-life is 20 seconds. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful. Make sure you know how to find the relationship between half-life and decay constant. You know how to comment on that. You know how to graph the radioactivity curve, whether it is the nucleus that is decaying, which is our main character, or the nucleus, the product that haven't decayed yet. So this one will increase. Go check out some past years. All right, that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one, where we look at something else. Bye-bye.